Hi, I'm Jo. I'm here with Faye. She's the person that I've chosen for my media assignment. Faye is a role model to me. She works in the media industry and also a bit of a mentor. And we met in quite an interesting way. We were at yoga. What can you remember about that?
Sweaty and contorted. We got to talking, we were at yoga, we got to talking, and Jo mentioned that she was trying to get into the media industry, and I said, well, coincidentally, I am in the media industry, so I think that's where we took it from there, and it just happened very organically, as they like to say.
So, Faye, I want to ask you some questions. First of all, how did you get into the media industry?
As a kid, all of us, we all toy with different ideas of, becoming the president of a country or being a spaceman, or I went through all of that, don't worry about that. But one thing that stayed very consistent with me through the years was that even as a kid, I read a lot. Even when I was a very young child, from the age of about 3, I read a lot. I was a very voracious reader, so it became a natural to me. It became apparent to me, even if I didn't know it yet, by the time I was about 8 or 9, that I would end up writing. I couldn't I cannot tell you exactly what was inside my head, but I knew it was like this little seed in my head that said, well, one day you will write, and that's the end of that. And so when I finished uni in Adelaide, where I already did a lot of writing for movie reviews for the university newspaper, I went to Malaysia because at that time Australia had a very bad recession going on and there wasn't much work. So I flew to Malaysia and I did some freelance work for the press. And it was fairly easy for me to get in. I had quite a big portfolio from the work I'd done at uni. I blanked my way in. They didn't realize, and so one thing led to another. So yeah, it's just I've been lucky with opportunities as well, I guess.
Okay, and now you've branched out. You're not only an author and founder, I believe, of a publishing company.
Yeah.
You're also a TV presenter and work in radio, amongst many other things.
Yeah.
How do you prevent yourself from becoming like a master of many? How do I say it?
A Jill of all trades.
A Jill of all trades.
I think obviously Leonardo da Vinci was one of the very few people that had so many hats back in his time. When he was an inventor, a scientist. He was a painter, obviously, for which we most know him for. But in this day and age, most people don't just do one thing.
Yeah.
If you've realized, nobody's just a model or nobody's just an IT consultant. Everybody seems to have a little bit that they're dabbling with on the side, which is great because it means that you become a lot more rounded as a person. And in terms of what I did, I always was writing. I first in journalism, freelance journalism, and then I had the opportunity to write books. So I wrote books, and then I wrote more books, and then I did books for clients as well. And then
so you wrote books for people
as well as my own.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I was a contract publisher as well for people, and when the opportunity came to do some TV stuff, I said, well, why not? And then ditto with the radio. So it wasn't something that I forced. It wasn't something that I actively sought out.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, for better or for worse, for me has happened fairly organically. It's just one thing has led to another, and it's been pretty natural. It's not something that I sought to do, and I did it. It felt right, and so I continue to do it. How do you stop yourself from being a Jill of all trades and master of none? I think you need to be considered in what you do. Don't just do something for the sake of doing it. Don't just do something because the fame of it appeals to you, or you want to be known for this, or you want to do many things and you want to be known for wearing many hats. Do something because you know you can do it well, and if you can't do it well, don't do it. If I had gone into radio and did a show and the show was disgusting, I would have scrapped it because it affects who you are as a whole. It affects your reputation at the end of the day, and you'd rather be an author of a nicely curated collection of writings and publications than to be a mediocre radio presenter, a crappy TV presenter, and a great author, because everything that you write then becomes compromised by your other not so good achievements. So I think just pick what you do, pick your battles, make sure you're good at it, make sure you love it, make sure you have a passion for it. Otherwise, don't do it for the sake of doing it.
No, you have a passion for food. Your radio show is about food and some of the books that you've written, but that's not all you've done. What other books have you written and published?
Food was also something I went into accidentally.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a very good appetite, and I like to eat, and I like to write about eating.
She likes to cook me meals.
Yes, also. So yeah, so it is, yes, it is a passion, but yeah. So I've done a series of children's books, for example, on the environment. The series called Eco Kids, and it's about Eco Boy and Eco Girl, and they go off on various adventures to try and educate people they meet on environmental issues. So, for example, it's a series of different little books, and so this is the Eco Kids and the Paper Pickle, and it's about this little girl called Susie, and Susie loves to write. She wants to be a writer when she grows up. Her name is Susie Scribbler, and her little dog Bo. But she wastes a lot of paper because she's never happy with what she writes. So the Eco Kids come and they tell her that, look, when you cut down so many trees, the animals lose their home. So Sanchez the snake almost lost his home because the people came to cut down his trees. So it's just stories like that to give them simple lessons. Don't waste paper, don't waste plastic, don't waste water. Water is a finite resource. Just simple messages, because I hope that by teaching the children, they will then shame the adults into doing the right thing, because I found that with adults it was such a losing battle because nobody cared. And so I cared enough about the environment to write a series about it.
Yeah, so this was spurred by an inspiration for...
passion as well, for the environment,
So when you're starting a new project, what are the things that you do to prepare for it?
The radio show is an ongoing deal, so it's on every week in Malaysia, and it's podcasted, so you can listen to it anytime. And what I do is every 3 months or so I fly over there and I bank a lot of content, and then they roll it out as they need it. But with book projects, I think the thing is, when it's my own project, for example, I'm writing a book about Asian herbs right now, how to grow your own Asian herbs, how to cook with them. It's very difficult because it's hard to get disciplined, even though I've done maybe 40 books now, 50 books, and it's still hard to get yourself into that mindset to focus on it and keep going with it. And sometimes you do lose momentum, but I think don't be so hard on yourself as well. Know that when you do achieve and you have a good day and you've worked and you've done a lot, give yourself a little bit of kudos for that. And when you sometimes feeling a bit flat and you need to give yourself a little bit of time out, don't beat yourself up for it either. So for example, my book launch is meant to be middle of November. I haven't actually finished the book yet. So as you can see,
no pressure.
No pressure. So it's about giving yourself a timeline, making sure that you. So if I said I don't set myself a deadline of mid-November to publish the book, then that timeline just stretches out and becomes inexorably longer, and then when you're gonna finish. So you got to give yourself a deadline. You got to say, okay, by this time this book is to be out. It's got to be in the stores, printed, distributed. Which means I work backwards and I create timelines for myself. Printing, if I give myself 2 weeks to print the books, I've got to give myself 2 weeks to do the revisions after the artwork is out, and so on and so forth. So you work backwards right to the point where you are now, and you go, okay, so this is what I have. This amount of time to write it and research it, this amount of time to do the artwork, this amount of time to revise it, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so you're breaking it down constantly.
You break it down into modules so it's achievable, so you have little steps that you can take, versus a book. Where do I start? So it's about breaking it down into achievable segments and then working from there.
Okay, and so you said you go to Malaysia about every 3 months.
Yeah.
How do you cope with the change and with the preparation for that?
That's a good question. It's hard to keep momentum going when you then break up your rhythm, or you break up your schedule and then fly out to someone else and then spend a couple of weeks there and then try to just hit the ground running and then start doing all the work there without, and then it's difficult. It was a lot harder before when I was not so well organized, and I used to fly out every 6 weeks, which was it was hell, because I couldn't get into a rhythm here.
Yeah.
And then the minute I finally got into rhythm, I'd have to fly out, and then I couldn't get into a rhythm there, and the minute I got into rhythm there, I'd have to fly back. So it became very brutal, and it was actually very demoralizing. But I realized that if I was a little bit more organized with my time, plan ahead a lot further, so I couldn't just work in front of my nose. I couldn't just go one day at a time. I had to work in terms of 4 month segments. And when I started to do that, and I started to force myself to be a little bit more organized, which is not easy, I can tell you that. You then can plan further ahead, and 3 months then gives me more time to settle in here, do some work, do my writing, do whatever I have to do here. Then when I go, my head and my complete focus is on getting the radio and TV work done. So you learn how to compartmentalize when you give yourself that space of organizing yourself well.
And with the TV, so you're doing that in Malaysia as well?
And Singapore, yeah.
Wow. And what are your programs around?
Food mainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've fallen into this food personality role over there in Asia. So quite a lot of stuff I do there is
Like
related
lifting
to
off
food.
from your radio show? Or...
No, a radio show was because of the food TV.
Oh, yeah.
So I was a judge on a family cook-off show in Singapore for a few series. I presented some shows on dining in Malaysia. And did videos on how to cook, blah, 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 blah. So that then springboarded into the radio show, and then now one feeds off the other.
Awesome. So I guess you get to eat a lot of good food, cook a lot of good food.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much. That's why I'm wearing a baggy shirt today. to hide the 12 pack I now have.
What advice would you give to people trying to break into the industry?
I think the advice I would give specifically you as well, because I know you have a lot of anxiety and you're so focused and so passionate about doing it that you often get yourself into and I think I think this applies to a lot of people as well, young people who are trying to break into the industry. It's not such a conventional way anymore. It's not. There's so much to think about nowadays. Your social media presence. Are you already established in social media? Do people know you? There's so many other things that are different now than when I say, for example, I walked into a newspaper office and just blanked my way into writing for them. I'm good. You need to hire me to write your food reviews and your movie reviews. So
confidence, number one.
Confidence. It doesn't change. Even with social media, it doesn't change. If you know you're good at it, or you suspect you're good at it, or you think you can be good at it, pursue it. Pursue it until someone tells you otherwise and says, oh my God, you're crap, don't do it anymore. But if that's not the case, believe in yourself. Believe that you can. Believe that you can and just do it. If you think so much about, oh, what happens if I fail? What happens if they don't like my work? What happens if they don't like what I write? When are you ever going to start? You're never going to start. You just got to get off your butt and just do it. Quite often, a lot of the projects I do, I don't give myself the time to dwell on it. If I think about it, I go, is it financially viable? Yes. Do you think there's a niche in the market for someone to read this? Yes. Children's books and the environment, why not? And I just plunge into it. I just do it. Because then you're busy doing. You're not busy thinking about whether I should do.
So it's an action.
Action. Just be proactive and just be active.
Okay. So when I'm writing something, I find it difficult to simplify what's going on in my head out onto the paper or out into what I'm saying. What's your advice on this?
Again, back to what I said before, don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out as you are, sometimes it helps to just say it. Just say what's in your head. Just talk to yourself. Talk to yourself and maybe even record it. Transcribe it into an audio. Listen back to what you said and go, was that quite close to what I was thinking? So work through that. Work through that so that what you're thinking and what you're writing has a little bit of a connection.
Yeah.
Because I think with you, what you think, and then when you start to write, you go, oh, that's not good enough. that's not going to cut that's not going to cut it. Don't do that. Don't censor yourself before you even given yourself the chance to do something. Don't be so self-censorious. Give yourself the chance to express yourself. And if you don't want to write immediately because you're not confident about it, like I said, talk. Verbalize what you're thinking. In my head, I'm thinking of this story. The story is this. And I see this. And that happened. And because of that, this, blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, blah, blah, blah. Just talk it through. And then hear yourself and you go, okay, well, that's kind of what I was thinking, give or take. Maybe I would flesh this out a little bit. I'd flesh that out a little bit. Let me try writing it out now. And then you keep working within those three spheres so that you get a unified voice, one that is close enough and has enough integrity to what's inside your head and your heart, and one that is also very true to who you are as a person and how you would present things.
This is why you're my mentor. Thank you so
Other
much.
than that, you just don't have much choice.
Yeah. And what's in this drink that we're drinking here today is something that you made. I don't know.
This lurid yellow drink. It's turmeric and lemon and honey. I just thought it'd be a good tonic. Be a
It's
good
really
tonic to get you started for the week.
Yeah, I feel really energized from it. Cheers.
Cheers.